can I say at the outset, thank you very much for that warm welcome. And also, can I just say thank you for having me here today. I'd also like to recognise His Excellency Mr David Daly, Ambassador and Head of Delegation to the Delegation of the European Union to Australia and to New Zealand, and the vast number of industry representatives, rural people, regional people, and some urban dwellers as well. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to address you at my first Outlook conference as Minister, and one of the key meetings of industry and forecasting professionals. I'd also look forward to presenting this evening the 2011 Science Awards at the conference dinner tonight. In September, I said that I would work closely with industry to ensure the agriculture, fishing and forestry sector are well positioned to deal with the economic and international challenges of the future. Today, I'd like to talk about some of the challenges associated with Australia's productivity and competition in industry, and how the government will engage industry on dealing with these matters into the future. There is no doubt Australia's food and agricultural industries face a strong competition. Australia's ability to produce food in huge quantities has been the envy of many countries. But with growing economics across overseas, we must remain viable well into the future. Productivity growth in Australian agriculture, fisheries and forestry has been high, at around 2.2% over the last 30 years. However, growth has slowed since around about the mid-90s, although the metrics are out on exactly the right timing. But this has attributed to a decade-long drought and more recently declining investment and research and development have been some of the drivers to explain that, but not all. Increased focus on improving productivity, of course, must be a key response from government and industry to respond to this pressure. Today, I'll look at three areas in particular. First, I'll describe the importance of the government's commitment to develop Australia's first national food plan in increasing productivity and improving Australia's position against global markets. Second, I'd like to discuss the role in research and development in boosting agriculture productivity growth above its long-term average. And third, I'll turn to the opportunities that exist for innovation and new technologies following the end of the drought in the eastern states of Australia. But before I do that, I'd like to spend some time just sketching short-term outlook for the industry itself. Natural disasters this past summer have been devastating for Australia and more recently our neighbour in New Zealand. We've been shocked, quite frankly, by this devastation caused by the earthquake and subsequent aftershocks in Christchurch. In the audience today we have delegates from New Zealand High Commission, and can I say that the loss of life has affected us all, and our thoughts are with the friends and families across the Tasman who are suffering. And I'll be pausing at approximately 10:50 so that we may observe a 2-minute silence at 10:51 for the Christchurch earthquake victims. Here, our agricultural sector has been hard hit across by floods right along the eastern seaboard, stretching from the east coast of Australia and, of course, flooding events in Tasmania, right across to the west coast in Carnarvon, and, of course, cyclones in far north Queensland and bushfires in Perth. ABARES has estimated that the combined impact of heavy rains and flooding from about late November onwards has reduced agricultural production and exports by around $2.3 billion in 2010-2011, and as a result of the significant impacts on winter crops, fruit and vegetable, cotton and grain and sorghum across. Can I then say that I've seen firsthand, I've had the opportunity of visiting many of these regions that have sustained levels of damage that are quite significant across the agricultural businesses as well, and through the significant crop losses I have seen, damage and of course significant damage to farming infrastructure as well, literally sheds blown away. And despite these setbacks, the economic outlook for Australia remains positive. ABARE's latest commodity report published today forecasts the value of Australia's commodity exports to be around $32.5 billion in 2011-2012, which is up 4.4% from the forecast value in 2010-2011. It expected we will see higher export earnings from barley, canola, grain, sorghum, raw cotton, sugar, wine, beef, veal, sheep, meat and wool. So right across the spectrum, we really do see an expected higher export earnings in the 2011-2012 period. And the latest ABARES Australian crop report estimates that the 2010-2011 national winter crop will reach 42.1 million tonnes. It represents about 19% increase on the previous crop, which, when you go back to the figures, it's the largest since about 2003-2004. ABARES also predicts that economic growth in Australia is expected to average 2.7% this financial year, strengthening to 3.9% in 2011-12. While I'm confident that our sector can get back on its feet quickly, the government is making sure people affected by these recent natural disasters are getting the support that they need. In response to the floods and cyclones, the Commonwealth has been quick, including the work that my department, but including right across the government, right through from Emergency Management Australia to Regional Australia departments, to roll out emergency financial assistance measures to assist the recovery efforts. It includes, of course, the Natural Disaster Relief and Recovery Arrangements. Approximately 641,000 Australian Government disaster recovery payments have been made, which also starts to underpin the scale of the eastern seaboard and across to the Carnarvon and the types of devastation that we have experienced. The payments have totalled $745 million. And in addition to that, there's approximately 56,000 disaster income recovery subsidy payments totalling over $25 million. Turning, of course, to what I mentioned earlier, which was the National Food Plan, the recent weather events do highlight the need for Australia to boost its economic agricultural growth to meet future challenges, including climate variability. Australia's food industry contributes significantly to the strength and resilience of our economy. Combined, the total value of farm and fisheries food production was $36.7 billion in 09-10, which contributed to $125.7 billion in retail sales of food and beverages. The flow-on economic impact of these industries is hard to value, but in 09-10, agricultural production alone employed about 324,000 people in cities, towns across our region, and of course stimulating and sustaining local communities, along with nearly 227,000 employed in food and beverage processing. Importantly, of course, they not only feed our nation, but millions of people in many countries across the world. The national significance of our food production was recognised by the government when it committed to creating a National Food Plan. The National Food Plan will identify the opportunities and risks to the long-term sustainability of food production and seek to ensure that Australia's food security is protected in the years to come.